So everyone is aware of what's happening in Ukraine. I'm sure of it, because everyone's been talking about it. But if you aren't, I'll explain it. So,
If you're living under a rock.
yeah, Ukraine is a country in Eastern Europe, and they've had a long history with Russia. Russia believes that Ukraine is a part of Russia, therefore they want to take control of it in the near future, or sometime in the future, let's put it like that. Now, the thing with Ukraine is, it seems like Russia is preparing for an invasion into Ukraine. And people are thinking this because they put a grand total of 100,000 troops on the Russian-Ukraine border. Okay? That is a lot of fucking people to put on a border. Now, this is how I view this. I don't think Putin will actually invade Ukraine. This is just a tactic to destabilize NATO. And this is how NATO is involved. Ukraine wants to join NATO and be a NATO country. But countries like Germany are opposed to this because they want to keep a good relationship with Russia, so they could do their there's like a pipeline that's going through Russia to Germany for gas purposes.
Yeah, wait, what?
Yeah. So they
For
want to
what?
for gas, like natural gas.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So they want to keep that relationship. And now Putin, without doing pretty much anything, is letting NATO self-destruct.
Well, that's kind of what it does best, so.
Yeah. This is the problem, right? Joe Biden even said, if a small part of Ukraine is invaded, maybe it won't matter. And this is a callback to Barack Obama. Under Barack Obama in 2014, Crimea, which is a section of Ukraine, or it was at the time, was annexed by Russia, and no one cared. Now, I recall Democrats saying that Trump was a puppet of Putin's. But let's make an interesting assessment here. Under Trump, no part of Ukraine was annexed. Under Barack Obama, a large section of Ukraine was annexed. Crimea is a very large part. It's an island, pretty much. It's very large, okay? It's hard to wrap around how large it is, but regardless.
And of course, under Biden,
now Putin is advancing towards the Ukrainian border. So now we have to ask, is Trump really the puppet here when, nothing was happening to Ukraine? Or is Biden the puppet when Putin realizes that he is a soft president and he probably will not retaliate with force?
right. Well, the thing about Trump, right, is he played both hands.
Exactly.
He's, very strong and militarist and, tough, but he also specifically went out of his way to keep good relationships with Russia, and Russia reciprocated. But now, America is on the other side of the pendulum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Biden and, the Democrats aren't planning to do any of that because they hate Russia because they think that they gave Trump the election. Which, that's something else entirely. But the important part is that because the Democrats are no friend of Russia, Russia isn't going to be any friends of them. And it's very possible that the relationship between America and Russia was one of the threads that kept Russia from continuing to invade Ukraine.
Well, the thing was with Trump, right? Trump was very clear on Russia if they ever invade Ukraine. He said, if you invade Ukraine, all hell's going to break loose. Biden is very unclear. And now you have to remember this. A couple months ago, Afghanistan happened. And I'm sure we all know how that turned out.
Right.
And then a couple months later, in a press conference, Biden said, if Russia takes a small part of Ukraine, we probably won't respond. So what do you think Putin is thinking right now? I think Putin's like, yeah, man, don't want to mess with Biden. Or do you think he's like, you know what? If we ever have an opportunity to invade Ukraine, now is our time.
Right. Because with Trump it was always like, okay, fine, we'll push invading Ukraine to a different time when America has a weaker, less favorable, less unitable, and less headstrong or headfast leader. Like Joe Biden in office.
Yep.
Because of course Russia knew that Trump wasn't going to be in there forever, which
right,
of course is a good thing. But I guess the whole thing with this entire situation is just that Russia has been carefully, considering how to go forward with their situation with Ukraine, and they just saw an opportunity. The opportunity was Joe Biden is probably not going to make the big of a deal about it because, I mean, he doesn't have to and he doesn't want to. That's it.
And by the way, yeah, go for it, Sonny.
I mean, hey, think about it. This is like the biggest big brain move like Russia can play. Like, think about it. Biden left fucking troops in Afghanistan. What do you think he's gonna fucking do for fucking Ukraine? Literally nothing. This is Russia's opportunity to fucking get hands down and get what they want.
Well, that's of course the other thing. Afghanistan definitely set a precedent for what Biden's foreign policy was, which is to say,
fuck it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, not only this is, I don't think Ukraine actually matters to Putin. What really matters is NATO. So I think he's just trying to poke at NATO to see if they will divide. Because Ukraine, although it's a very, it's nationally attached to Russia in some ways, NATO being gone is way more important. And not only just important to Russia, but also China. Which is a good segue into the next part of this whole debacle. So a couple days ago, China, after hearing all the news surrounding Joe Biden and his actions if Russia were to invade Ukraine, flew 39 warplanes towards Taiwan. Now, China never does this. And they never do this because Taiwan is a protected state under the United States of America. And they know if anything bad happens to Taiwan, the United States will respond with force. That's what is expected, okay? That's not even like... It's not even expected that it will happen, alright? It will happen no matter what. But because Joe Biden looks like he might be at odds with Russia, and because he might not respond if anything happens to a state like he did with Afghanistan, this might be a prime time for China to invade into Taiwan.
God.
So now...
I will say, the thing is, I was actually going to make the comparison between the situation with Ukraine and the situation with Taiwan. I was going to say, the situation between Russia and Ukraine is actually pretty similar to the situation with China and Taiwan, or what China would say is Chinese Taipei.
Yeah.
Basically, right, you have this huge country, right, with a bunch of influence and manpower, and is essentially one of the three countries that matter in the world, the other two being Russia and the US, right?
Right, and you should, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but Taiwan is one of the most important countries in the world, bar none, because of their chip manufacturers. They literally provide the fuel that we need to survive. Anything from the chips you have in your phone to the chips you have in your cars. They are the lifeblood of all technology. So
right.
It's really important that Taiwan's safe.
Yeah, you could even say that they are, basically the backbone of modern day innovation.
Yes, 100%.
Nothing happens without the chips.
And they are the best at producing them. So.
Of course.
Yeah. But continue.
Well, I guess I didn't really have much of a point beyond that. I was just saying that, this entire situation is very similar, and because it's similar, it's, again, just like Afghanistan, it sets a precedent.
Yeah.
And it's very obviously a bad precedent.
Right, and we were told by the Democrats, oh, Joe Biden, he's had more relationships with diplomats than any other person. He's the most respected person in politics.
Obviously, stage. Right.
Yeah, when he's getting his ass pounded by all these leaders. Yeah, totally respected, by the way.
Okay, I wouldn't put it like that. That's a little AO. That's a little AO. But
AO. Hey, that's where the clip ends.
Ass pounded. Amazing.
Yeah. Hey.
How old is it, Biden? How old is Biden?
80-something. 81.
So an 80-year-old getting ass pounded by fucking Putin, and who's the leader of China?
Xi Jinping. But
Xi Jinping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
not gonna lie, kind of a weird fetish, but I don't know. I'm not really one to judge.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into that. But Xi Jinping, how old is he? It's like 64.
Jing. What's
68. Xi Jinping.
Jing. What?
Winnie
Xi Jinping.
the Pooh, guys. Come on.
He's almost 70.
I think I literally just got myself banned from China from saying that.
You worry about leaving a better planet for our kids. How about leaving better kids for our planet? Entire generation offended at everything, getting mad that a human thinks all lives matter. We don't need black or white or left or right. What we need is common sense. We need balance. We're all in the same boat. Why you trying to make holes? If they sink, we sink. This is madness.